Welcome to Hunters Connect. On this channel, we've been trying to make a bunch of educational videos for a new hunter. And we're still going to make those videos, but we've decided to make other videos in a new series that are going to be entertaining as well as educational.
So the idea behind the series is we have two fairly new hunters in our group here, and we're going to follow them from the start to the finish. Basically, when they start going to Hunter's Ed, learning all about the rules and regulations, to when they're actually going into the field. Our two guinea pigs are Jonathan Spear, who has some hunting experience but who has not harvested a big game animal yet. And then we have David, who has hunted, I don't think at all, maybe a little bit in his youth. So we got two different experience levels.
So myself and Michael are by no means hunting education experts, but we have been hunting quite a bit and we've had a decent amount of success. So our hope is that we will be able to answer questions that they have as new hunters and help them down the path as they start to, as David does hunter ed and Jonathan continues to big game hunt.
So Jonathan, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your hunting experience in the past?
Yep, I've had a little bit of success with small game. I spent my early childhood in Texas, and dove hunting is a big deal, and so I shot one dove with a .410 shotgun when I was like 9 or 10. And then I lived in Alaska for a couple years, shot a snowshoe hare. So between a dove in Texas and a snowshoe hare in Alaska, that's my my hunting success. Really have been trying to get into more bow hunting, and so took the bow hunter safety course with Dale over the winter, and then did the winter archery league at Big Sky Archery. And that was a lot of fun, learned a lot, and so I'm hoping to, I've never shot a big game animal, so I'm hoping to get a deer this fall with my bow.
Sweet. And then David, how much hunting experience do you have?
As far as hunting, I've had basically next to nothing. When I was younger, I also grew up in Texas, and my dad would take me out to go target shooting. So I'm shooting some 22s, but that was about the extent of anything with firearms or hunting.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, going into this, what are you guys' goals? What do you want out of this? Because I think that helps us determine how to go about, taking you guys hunting. So, what do you want? I'll start with you, Jonathan. I guess what is your main goal for why you're hunting? Is it the meat? Is it the experience? Or
So last fall my buddy Jay took me to a good deer spot. We were on some both whitetail and mule deer, and I had just this dumb idea of, even though this is going to be my first deer, I don't want it to be a small one, I could have shot a doe, I could have taken a couple forks and a spike. It was a fun adventure going out for those times, but I didn't bring the meat home, which is what I wanted to. So this year, that's my goal, is to bring home meat and not worry about antler size, because I was in that in that frame of mind last year, which wish I hadn't been, but.
You kind of almost did that when you first started hunting too,
so
right? You have any perspective
I'm a product of hunting media. I started hunting because I watched all the hunting TV shows, and it kind of portrayed a false reality to me, where I wanted to shoot a big deer, and I started hunting kind of like you, but I was 20, and I was passing on animals I shouldn't have. And I also think that not only are you're missing out on the meat aspect of it, but you're missing out on just experience. So if I were to have shot those deer, those would have been deer under my belt, and later in life it would have been helpful to have harvested a couple animals.
That is because I was used to editing Randy's stuff and seeing big deer and elk. So I finally saw that big 4x4, and then after that, anything else I saw that was smaller than that, I was like, why bother? I saw my version of Big Hank when I was out.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. It's hard when you're older, when you start hunting, because you don't want to just shoot, like I said, especially if you got into it being from the media side of watching hunting shows.
Yeah.
And you see, especially whitetail stuff, you see these guys shooting big bucks on food plots or whatever, and that's just not the reality when you're a public land hunter. This series is not only, it's not going to be specific to public land. I'm sure a lot of the stuff that we're going to hunt is on public. It's good to keep your realities or your expectations relative to where you're hunting and stuff. It doesn't really matter your age. If you want to just get something under your belt, it's not a bad idea to do that,
I think it comes into what your goals are too and everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting seeing your perspectives because like when I was growing up, and granted I did start when I was 12, but it was like a legal deer. I mean, if it had antlers, I was gonna shoot it. Like it did, and so the first like 4 deer I shot it were little 2 points or little 3 points. And it just it's like that's a buck. I'm gonna shoot it.
Yeah.
So.
I wish
But
I
it
had
is.
done that.
I think I can see how if you're coming into it later in life, you have this like expectation of I need to shoot this big buck, otherwise I look silly. But if it's about the meat and like I think not only the meat but the experience, like just to have the experience of taking an animal and understanding it, it's like, you know. To me, a deer is better than no deer.
Absolutely.
Like,
so it sounds like your goals are to get an animal under your belt and to harvest some meat, right?
What about you, David? Have you thought about kind of what you want out of the experience?
Yeah, so I mean, part of it is definitely the meat that centers around it, but also just the experience in general, because I feel like I grew up not hunting, so I go to the supermarket, buy some beef out of the fridge, go home, put it in the fridge, throw it and cook it. But I was never really part of the harvesting experience of it, and I think you really kind of take that for granted, like the whole eating meat, and then you take the animal's life for granted too. So I really wanted to have that experience of going out and harvesting the animal myself. And when you think about it, it's like the ultimate free range animal that you're harvesting. So,
Right.
So I think that was a big part of it for me, and I decided it was time to do that. So.
Have you had any like weird feelings about the antlers? Because that's what it seems to be.
Yeah, I mean, not so much for me. I mean, maybe down the road.
Yeah.
But for me right now, anything that's legal to harvest, I'll take the shot.
Cool.
Because that's what I'm interested in. Yeah, so.
Cool.
Alright.
So now we know you guys' expectations. You guys are going to be responsible for getting legal, buying your license. You're going to be responsible for taking your hunter's education, which it sounds like you guys have started to do some of that stuff.
So David's just finishing up Hunter Ed. Basically, you're kind of in the middle of the online version of Hunter Ed, right?
Mhm.
And so after that, it will have to start getting dialed, figure out all the regulations in the state, which is going to be Montana for us. And so we're going to make him read the regulations front to back, figure out everything you need to know for what you're going to need in Montana. That's kind of the best place to start usually is the state's regulations. And then we'll dive into getting a rifle ready.
And then we're going to help you along the way, but we're not going to point you to a specific direction. We're going to help you guys find a spot, but ultimately it's going to come down to you guys to figure this stuff out.
Especially in hunting media or whatever, people take new hunters out a lot, but they're being guided. The idea is to have you guys figure it all out, like that part of it, and we'll be there to answer questions and to help along the way, but we want you to find the spot, to figure out how to approach the animal, how to kill it. If you guys kind of learn the hard way almost, but to have us there to help answer questions or help you understand what went wrong or anything like that, that's kind of the idea behind this. And hopefully it'll be entertaining. I'm sure there'll be stuff that goes wrong, there'll be stuff that's funny that happens, but I think if we do it right, like you guys are gonna come out successful.
So now that we know your guys' goals, tell me a little bit about what you think is going to be the biggest struggle, in terms of this new experience for you.
Sure. The effective range for me shooting Winter Archery League was about 40 yards. So cutting the distance to 40 yards with wind, with noise, with just all the eyes of the other animals watching you is going to be tricky. So cutting the distance for sure, and then having not taken a big game animal, kind of the remorse and the, ethically killing an animal with a bow, which I've never done, will be definitely a goal of mine is to, kill it as efficiently as possible and harvest the meat.
What about you, David?
Yeah, like Jonathan, there's always that emotional impact that's kind of like a little bit of sadness and bittersweet feelings about killing an animal. But also, it's the rules and regulations to make sure I do everything legally. And then also, I've always been curious about like packing out an animal, how that really works to prevent something like a bear coming along and stealing, your harvest.
Well, I think that we're going to touch on all that stuff, and we'll definitely do our best to help you guys get comfortable with all your concerns. So from here on out, we're probably going to split up a little bit. I'm going to be with Jonathan because he's interested in the archery side of things. So we're going to make sure that his broadheads are tuning well out of his bow. We're going to shoot at some 3D targets and just kind of get ready for the season. And we're going to also talk about, different hunting methods for archery, whether it be hunting out of the tree stand, spot and stock, hunting out of blind. If we're hunting elk, we're definitely going to be doing something different than we're going to be hunting when we're hunting for deer. So that's kind of the next step, is kind of getting prepped for the season.
Yeah, I'm going to go out with David and hopefully get him dialed in with a rifle, get him comfortable, we'll practice a bunch, and any questions you have, and just, I think the big thing is to get comfortable with a rifle. And so, yeah, we'll start these kind of parallel video series of David going down his path and Jonathan going down his path, and follow along, and we'll start hunting too. We'll have some good hunts coming up, hopefully.
We're pretty excited to start this new video series, and in the upcoming months, you're going to see us in the field with these two guys.
Basically, how we're going to do this is myself and Michael are going to film them. So Michael and I will be behind the camera filming them, but we'll be able to answer questions as they have it, as they're going down this path. So we're the camera guys going forward.
So we haven't decided on the video series yet, so what should it be called? You guys should comment down below. Hopefully we'll have some exciting, fun, and entertaining content coming to you guys in the fall. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.